Oh, it automatically goes into it. Want me to stop recording?
Nope, we're live.
All right, very good. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We'll get started here in just a minute or two. I'm just waiting for a couple people to log in, and we'll get started in 1 minute. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today for an information session with Fleet and Family Readiness. Today's information session, of course, is with Fleet and Family Readiness. My name is Warner Petzold. I'm an employer outreach specialist for the University of Arizona Global Campus. We're excited you could join us today to learn more about exciting career opportunities with Fleet and Family Readiness. Before I turn over to the Fleet and Family Readiness Program, I wanted to go over a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded. For all those who registered for today's information session, the recording will be emailed to you in a few days. We will take time to answer as many questions as possible during and at the end of the presentation. At the bottom of the screen is a Q&A button. You can submit questions with your name or anonymously to be answered live. We will do our best to get to as many questions as we can. However, if your question is not answered by the end of the presentation, you can email it to careerservices@uagc.edu. We will follow up with Fleet and Family Readiness to get any remaining questions answered. Also, feel free to engage in the chat. You can pose questions in the chat, and Fleet and Family Readiness and members of the Career Services team who are here today will be available to help answer any questions throughout the presentation. If you have any technical difficulties, we recommend logging out of Zoom and logging back in. Now, I would like to introduce our guest employer. Joining us today is Gwen K. Adams, Regional Training Specialist at Fleet and Family Readiness Programs, Navy Region Northwest. Gwen studied journalism at the University of Idaho and worked as a magazine editor and basketball coach before returning to school for her master's degree in HR management and development from Chapman University. She worked 16 years for Johnson Controls, serving as assistant HR director for the U.S. Navy Services Contract in Silverdale, Washington, and then as HR director for their Microsoft Facilities Contract in Redmond, Washington. Gwen returned to the U.S. Navy in 2001 and has spent 20 years in various roles, including Regional HR Director for the Pacific Northwest, Regional HR Director for Eurofacent Operations, and Regional Staffing Training Specialist. She has taught graduate studies in HR Management and Organizational Leadership for the University of Phoenix and is certified in several virtual and classroom training platforms. Also joining us today is Natalie. I think your last name is Boet. And Natalie is currently the Regional Business and Finance Operations Manager for Fleet and Family Readiness Programs, Navy Region Northwest. Prior to that, Natalie traveled all over the globe, serving as Recreation Division Chief at U.S. Army Garrison Humphreys in Korea and Director of Family Morale, Welfare, and Recreation Services in Okinawa, Japan, and Deputy Director of Morale, Welfare, and Recreation at Fort Stewart, Georgia. Natalie hails from Iberia, Louisiana, and currently resides with her family in Kitsap County, Washington. We are also excited to share that Natalie is a graduate of the University of Arizona Global Campus. Gwen and Natalie, we are excited to hear your presentation, and thank you for joining us today. I will go ahead and turn it over to you. Just 1 second, let me just stop my share here. I'll be 1 second, sorry.
Great. Thank you very much, Warner. And we're very excited to be part of the University of Arizona Global Campus. Say hi, Natalie.
Hello, everyone.
She has a lovely San Francisco bridge in back of her, but she is in Seattle with me, aren't you?
I am.
Yes, okay. Yeah, we're based out of the Seattle area. But one of the things I wanted to share with you today, we have it's kind of a short agenda because we want you to have time to answer questions, or to ask questions. We will answer the questions. One of the things I wanted to share with you is who we are. Fleet and Family Readiness is not a very familiar name. And I've been attending several job fairs from Reno, Nevada, California, Oregon, and people do not know who we are. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. Fleet and Family Readiness is a civilian, we're considered federal employees, and we support naval operations from the shore. So our main focus is quality of life programs. And basically for you, that means we take care of whatever we can so that the military member can focus on their mission. So when they're overseas, if they're out on a boat, or even maybe if they're just standing watch in their hometown, they need to know that their children are cared for, that their house is being repaired, that their mental well-being, that there's going to be food on the table. Where's their spouse getting the groceries from? We want to maintain a mental and physical well-being of those military members so that they can concentrate on their mission. So I like to tell people that we hire everything from bartenders to psychiatrists, but the bartenders tend to make more money because of the tips. So if you think about it, our military bases are like small cities, and Fleet and Family Readiness helps maintain those cities. Most military bases they have parks and recreation areas, they have campgrounds, they have housing units, housing developments that have to be maintained. They have childcare centers for the children to be watched. And then we have a lot of restaurants, and we have gymnasiums to maintain that physical readiness. We help the Navy maintain those physical readiness standards. All of those things are things like you'd find in a small city. There's a group that handles utilities and public works. There's a transportation. We have buses. We got to get the kids back and forth from school. They really are small cities. So anything you might find in a municipality, you can find in government employment. When I go to the job fairs, people think that we're active duty military. We are not. We are civilians. We run very much like a corporation. As Natalie can tell you, she has a budget to maintain. We have expenditures. We just have a lot more rules of how we have to do that. So I wanted to share with you first some numbers, and bear with me. I'm supposed to be this very certified trainer, but Zoom can sometimes be a mystery. I'm just going to share a slide with you, and I apologize if you are on your phone screen or you're just on audio today. I will talk to the items that are on the slides. They're mostly pictures, so you won't be missing out too much, and feel free to ask a question about the video or if you're having trouble. But the first slide is just some numbers I want to share with you. Let's see if I can find it here. So let's kind of say what is in a number. Let me get it to slide view here. Oops, that is the wrong slide. Just a moment. All right, what is in a number? Let's look at some different numbers that have to do with Fleet and Family Readiness. We have 10 Fleet and Family Readiness regions worldwide. Now, some of those are in the United States. Natalie and I are part of the Northwest region. We have Southwest, we have Mid-Atlantic, we have the Southeast, but we also have a region, we have Hawaii, we have Japan. I was part of the Europe region, which is Europe, Central Asia, and Africa. And then we have the Marianas. So we're just all over the globe. Now, the next number I have is 67. 67 is the percent of military members who have children at home. So you think this is military, Air Force, Army, Navy. 67% of our military that are married have children at home, and those children need to be cared for. Every time they move, every 2 years, every 4 years, they change location, we have to account for those children. Okay, and if both spouses work, we need to account for who's taking care of those children if there is a spouse that works outside the home. These are the kind of things Fleet and Family Readiness is involved with. 103, I just threw that in there. That is the average temperature in Djibouti, Africa. That is part of our Europe region. We do have military members who work in Djibouti, and I share this with you because those military members that work in Bahrain and Djibouti and Oman and these places in the Middle East, these are the kind of conditions that they deal with on a regular basis. They sleep in what they call clues. Those are kind of cargo units. Imagine a train car converted into a room. And so when we do recreation for them, if we're going to have a softball tournament, it has to happen at midnight when we can do it in an airplane hangar where the temperature is of such that they can actually enjoy that. So these are the types of things we have to think about. How do we provide recreation for somebody in a zone with 103 degrees and a lot of sand? 1,200, that's the number of employees that we have here in Navy Region Northwest for Fleet and Family Readiness. So we have currently have at least 1,200 employees engaged in various career paths. So, and then 5,000, you think in terms of that, we have 1,200 employees. There are 5,000 sailors on one aircraft carrier. Those are like floating cities. Now, they may not all be on there at the same time. Some of them might be ashore looking for restaurants, looking for recreation. But imagine if you're at a military base that has 3 aircraft carriers, then you have 15,000 customers that you were serving. That is what Fleet and Family Readiness does. We are trying to maintain a quality of life program for those 5,000 sailors on that aircraft carrier. And then we get bigger with our numbers. There's over 35,000 NAF employees. That's what we are. It's called non-appropriated fund. So your typical GS employees, civil service employees, those funds are appropriated. So they have funds set aside for them. It's just a different pot of money. And Natalie might be able to address that better when she talks. But this is just non-appropriated fund employees, which most of our Fleet and Family Readiness employees, it means we have to generate some income. Our funding comes from a different source. We may have to collect fees for our childcare services, but then those fees go right back to the customer. We call it sailor dollars. We're basically a nonprofit. When we take in money, we turn it right over into programs for our military. So we may collect fees, so those funds we have to generate ourselves, and we have to maintain and pay some of our own bills. But any profit that we make has to be turned back over to the sailor. So we have 35,000 NAF employees worldwide. So we're a very large employer, yet nobody knows we're here. And then one of the last numbers I present with you is 1 million plus. Gold Star family members are considered family members that are dependents of a military member, an active duty member who died in service. And this is another one of the programs that we support. So imagine if you look at World War II and Korea and Afghanistan and Iran, there's over 1 million family members that lost a family member to one of those engagements. And so those family members continue to need support. They continue to be part of the military family. And that's the kind of quality of life program that we support. What are we doing to stay in touch with those people after they've lost a family member? So we have counselors, we have recreation people who focus just on those programs. And that's just one of the many programs that we provide. So I just wanted to share that with you as some numbers of the types of things that we are involved with. And then I want to show you some pretty pictures about that. Kind of our agenda, you've met us. I wanted to show you those numbers. I'd like to share with you kind of my testimonial. And as we look at some pictures from my journey, then you'll see some of the other programs that we have. And then Natalie will share some information about her journey. And you can ask questions about those global opportunities. Then I want to talk about Northwest opportunities that we have right here available now, and how you might be able to be part of that team. Okay, and then we'll have more time for questions at the end, and then Werner will take us home. Okay, so let me share with you Gwen's little travelogue here. Let's see. So what you should be looking at is a lovely sunset. This is Hanson, Idaho, population 415. Off to the right of that tree, if you're looking at the screen, would be my house. Of that 415, about 80 of us attended the local high school. There is no ocean, there is no Navy, there is no water near us other than an irrigation canal. So I had no idea that someday that I would spend over 30 years supporting naval operations. So I'm just showing this to show you that there are many global opportunities, there are many career opportunities with a Navy, with Fleet and Family Readiness, and as Natalie can tell you, with the Army and the Air Force, that it's a very rewarding career. It's something that I didn't know about. I thought I had to join ROTC or join the military to have these kind of experiences. But I went from Hanson High School, oops, get the right, to working in food service. So there was a place called Eden, Idaho, near where I went to school, and they had a brand new truck stop. So I started out being a prep cook and a waitress at this truck stop so that I could attend University of Idaho. Again, nowhere near water. The closest thing, University of Idaho, we may have had the Snake River, but once again, had no idea I'd be working for the Navy. I got a journalism degree because newspapers will last forever, right? So I had no idea at that time that newspapers were actually going to become a very downsized industry. So I went back to school to get my human resources management degree. So that led me to where we are now in Northwest. We live in the Seattle area. We have our Pike Place Market that is very famous. We have Mount Rainier. We have a lot of lighthouses, which I love. And in the lighthouse picture, if you can see it, there's a lot of gray sky, which also is something we have a lot of in Washington. But it's a beautiful location. I think Natalie and I are both very happy to live here. I've lived in some other beautiful places, and this is where I wanted to come home to. So from Washington, I finally was close to water. Yay. And after working with the Navy as their HR manager, then I had an opportunity to do the same job in Italy. And if you look at Italy, here's a pretty good picture. It's very old. You can see the rust. You can see some decay. It's a very old, proud city. In the distance, there's a castle, the Castello d'Ova, which is Castle of the Egg. And in the far distance is Mount Vesuvius. Coming from Hanson, Idaho, I thought I was in a fairyland. I thought I had entered into a movie. I'd only seen these sort of things in the movies, so I never dreamed that I'd be working someplace like this. And then just some quick pictures. So as part of working for the Navy, I was able to take tours. Part of what we do is provide recreational tours for the military. So I would travel with military families, and we'd go to Rome. Here are pictures of Rome and the Vatican City. These are tours that we'd arrange for military families, and we kind of go in our little, what we call the American bubble. So we would have them feel a sense of community, even though they're separated from their families back home, even though that they're overseas in a place that speaks a different language, and even going to the grocery store can be a challenge. Okay, because all the signage and all the labels are not in English. So I very much enjoyed the government pays for the civilian lodging just as if you were deployed. So I really enjoyed my time living in Italy. And I just present you my highlight of Italy is I went to a James Taylor concert that was actually in Pompeii. If you can see the picture, James Taylor is actually performing in front of about 250 people, which again was something that Fleet and Family Readiness partnered with armed forces entertainment to provide concerts like these available to military members and federal employees. And so we're actually inside the Pompeii Amphitheater, sitting on the ground, listening to Bonnie Raitt and James Taylor. So again, I thought I had been transported to some make-believe place. So that's kind of my travel log. What we do in Europe and in all of our regions, one of our primary focuses is to provide physical fitness suitability. So we have gyms, and sometimes even in places like Poland or Romania, we have what they call gym in a box. So we will have the equipment shipped there and we'll set it up so that the military members have access to some sort of physical training equipment. Our employees include fitness assistants, fitness specialists. We have group trainers, we have personal instructors, we have people who just work at the counter and provide customer service. But we have this in almost every one of our locations. We provide this service to retirees. We provide it to military families. We do everything from yoga instruction. We do hot yoga. We do dance. We do spin classes. I like this guy in this picture. He looks kind of like Roy Kent from Ted Lasso, don't you think? But fitness is one of the main jobs that we provide. That includes fitness for our military dependents. In Italy, we had a complete park, campground, cabins, and the park includes soccer fields and baseball fields. This is a picture of opening day for our youth program. So we have coaches, we have youth directors, we have childcare directors. Opening day involved complete leagues of Little League, a girls softball, and our high school baseball team, because we had a high school on site. And this is opening day, kicking off the summer season of softball and baseball. So that's how many, we had all these military children that need engagement while they're overseas. We have similar programs here at home. We have marathons, we have Easter egg hunts. And at that opening day in the far corner, you see the Admiral actually throwing out the opening pitch. So that was the Admiral of the Europe, Central Africa, or Central Asia, Africa region, gets right out there and engages in our little American bubble. So these are all programs that Fleet and Family Readiness helps make happen. Additional programs in child and youth, we have the Missoula Children's Theater, we have Sesame Street and Missoula Children's Theater and the U.S. Gymnastics team. They will come in and meet with our children and provide seminars and camps for our youth. And that's something, a special program that we provide for our military children. Here they're getting ready for a Missoula Children's Theater production. On the right, we put on Easter egg hunts. We celebrate holidays, both local and afar, so that people can again have that sense of community. That's yours truly in the Easter Bunny suit, which don't do that in 100-degree weather. Working overseas, I also want to share that typically we have agreements with our host nation. And some of those agreements, we have to take as much as 70% of our labor from the host nation. So in Italy, at least half of my staff in human resources were native Italians. And so here you see a picture with my Italian staff. Coffee breaks were very important. You have to immerse yourself in the culture. You learn very quickly. You do not plan any meetings during the coffee break. So that is a time that they go as a group and have their little tiny cups of coffee, but those are sacred. You do not interrupt those coffee breaks. But they're wonderful, wonderful people. In Spain, we had also an agreement. 75% of the labor had to be from the local nation. And then just a couple of last little travel pictures there of that. Our fitness, sometimes, like I said, we have fitness in a box. We actually had a fitness yurt. So in our campgrounds, we would have a tent and we'd have equipment in there, much like we do in Djibouti, Africa, and Bahrain. And that's my parking space in Italy. We had a large garage. So every morning I parked in front of Mount Vesuvius. So some of the places that we also have bases include Greece. In Greece, I like this picture I have of a motorcycle because they deliver gyros there, just like we deliver pizza here. But our base there, it really does look that pretty. We took tours, we sponsored tours for military dependents and active duty members to go to places like Santorini. Some of them are stationed in places like Suda Bay. That's one of our main bases there. Here you see a run for heroes. It was a special marathon in remembrance of 9/11. So you see the firefighters actually running in their firefighting gear. We also have security officers, and we have Fleet and Family Readiness employees who are doing this remembrance run in support of 9/11. Again, these are events that we coordinate. We have a base in Bahrain. Bahrain, again, is one of those places, very high temperatures, very isolated. So our recreation programmers will provide something like a sip and paint, where we bring people together from different areas and they don't know people. Again, they might be separated from their families, and we give them something to engage with that's a little bit different. Sometimes it might be something more boisterous, like a Cinco de Mayo party, but then we also have just recreation items like this. We also have military working dogs that we support. That's another branch of the military that we need to support those sailors, and we need to be sure that we have quality engagement. We invite them to a lot of our programs so that they can do military working dog demonstrations. So it's a very large community. In Djibouti, Africa, sometimes our recreation programmers have to come up with solutions during COVID. How did we get through COVID when we cannot have those kind of engagements? We can't play softball. We can't allow people to do recreational activities together like the sip and paint. So we had to come up with individual activities or small group activities to isolate folks to help avoid the spread of COVID, but still there is a mission to be accomplished. So one of the things we did here is an example in Djibouti where they converted batting cages to basically a putting green or a driving range for golfing. So our recreation programmers made that available so someone could individually work outside, but still meet the COVID protocols. So this is a type of thing, we're not just setting up tournaments, we're not just doing fitness instruction, we're constantly thinking of ways to improve the quality of life for our sailors. A large part of what we do, I'll let Natalie speak more to Japan, but a large part of that quality of life is taking care of the mental well-being of our sailors. In Japan, here's a couple of pictures of military members when they come home after a deployment. It could be 3 months, it could be 6 months. They may have been gone for over a year. And during that time, babies were born, children were growing, kids entered high school, children graduated from high school. And they come home, and here you see, this is one of the greatest things that I think we do is orchestrate welcome home parties. So, but also leading up to that time, how do we deal with those family members who are suffering from separation anxiety? How do we deal with the military member that comes home and feels dislocated? Like I'm no, I've been gone. I don't understand these people. My role has changed in the family. Sometimes, unfortunately, we have to deal with suicidal tendencies. We have to deal with anger management. So we have clinical counselors on board, and we have work and family life counselors who don't have to be licensed counselors, but they're there to help with financial planning, with transitioning to the civilian world, any type of thing that might be needed for the emotional and mental well-being of the military members. We also provide that. So it's one of the most rewarding things we do is helping to reunite families when they come back. Also, another picture from Japan, mixing that host nation and the military members for activities. In this case was a Freedom Ring Independence Day celebration. So we bring all those people together. We invite them to see some of our American culture. And then we also celebrate the culture of the countries where we're staying. And we invite them to tell us more about their culture and honor and respect the fact that they're allowing us to be in their country. All those type of activities are things that Fleet and Family Readiness does. And You'll see more on this, but everything we do here in the Northwest, we have our own website there, Navy Life, PNW, that's Pacific Northwest. We have similar sites for everywhere that we have, where you can go in and see the types of activities and the types of jobs that we do. So I just wanted to share that little travelogue with you. So that's a lot about me, but let me have Natalie talk, build on that, her journey, and her journey, including coming from a University of Arizona global campus, and then give you a chance to ask us some questions.
So there's already lots of questions in the Q&A, Gwen. So hello, everyone. My name is Natalie. I'm very, very happy to be here, especially as an alumni of the University of Arizona. My path is definitely a little bit different. I'm from a very small town in Louisiana. My husband decided to join the military, and I kind of followed along. But as a military spouse is how I learned about all the different programs we have, and that's how I started my career in outdoor rec. If I didn't move my way up, where Gwen's journey overseas was mostly in Europe, mine was in Asia. I spent 11 years total in Asia between Korea and Japan. Last duty station was Okinawa, Japan. I just got back from there I think it's been about a year and a half now. Working for the military, working for Fleet and Family is a very rewarding opportunity. Gwen talked about a lot of the different programs and services we do. We also do a lot of what we call back of the house. For instance, I'm the business ops. I work under the N94. So that's kind of the support services for all the people, running those gymnasiums, running those things. So what falls under us is things like IT, marketing. I have accounting, budgeting, procurement, which is contracts, government credit cards. We do construction. So we have a whole lot on that backside also. So, essentially when you look at it, like Gwen said, she's very right. It's like a small city. And the great part about it is if, working for Fleet and Family, serving the sailors, a job for anyone, whatever field that you prefer. And that was one thing I saw a lot in the question session, asking what kind of requirements, what kind of experience do you need? It really goes to, I'm sure Gwen will talk a little bit more about this, but what do you want to do? Do you want to work in recreation? Do you want to be in business? We have the social services with the counselors. You have what I do with budgeting and finance and all, accounting, all those different kind of things. But at the end of the day, one of the most important things we do in serving those people is giving them that sense of community wherever we're at. It's exciting for us to move all over the world. Part of, being overseas, I love was travel. I've been all over Asia. But it's also, going to work and remembering these people are from, like Gwen, a little small town in Idaho. They've never been anywhere. The military has sent them to this very foreign place. So it's our jobs to make sure that they, we support their families, we support them, we take care of the children, whatever aspect of what we do in Fleet and Family that we're taking care of them. So it's a wonderful experience and a wonderful job. 17 of my years is in the Army. And then now I've gone over to the Navy side, which I absolutely love. Part of what the degree is, again, I've moved up, worked, real hard through the system. But getting my degree was important for me, especially with, the change we have. So I actually graduated in January of 22. My degree is in organizational leadership, which is a great thing. And you guys all know, because you're going to school here, the way the University of Arizona has their curriculums and their things set up, it's a great, fit for a lot of people in the military, working for the military, and outside, of course. But it's absolutely a great school that does very well with the military. And then, of course, it's a great transition. There's a lot of what we do in the military. Like, I'll give you an example. There's a lot of the training that I took in the military that helped and counted towards my degree. So that's definitely a good thing with the school. And of course, that experience type of program that the university offers. So that's very, very great. So I don't want to talk too much. I know Gwen still wants to talk about jobs, but again, I'm extremely happy to be here. Also to show you what Fleet and Readiness does. It is a wonderful organization, great careers, great opportunities around the world, but the States, overseas, wherever you want to be, very rewarding. And we have a lot of jobs open. So thank you for your time and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Natalie. You talked a lot less than me, but I was trying to cover a lot of the programs. Just want to open it up to questions. I tried to answer some in the chat, but based on what we've showed you so far is focusing on the global opportunities and questions for Natalie on her journey and how she utilized those skills. If you have a question for us, please go right ahead. And Natalie, feel free to answer any you see. We can answer live or we can type. So I'm looking at some. I see one. Are there any mid-level or senior level budget or financial management positions available? That sounds like a Natalie question.
There's actually, we have, I think, one or two in the Northwest region, but I will tell you there are a ton all over the world. I see those a lot, especially at our headquarters. Gwen, I don't know if you're going to talk USA jobs, but that's definitely a place to look. But yeah, there are several open right now. I actually saw a couple, I think, today or yesterday. And then another one, someone asked when I saw a couple questions about telework. That's really dependent on the job and where you are at the region. For instance, at our region, I don't think we have any positions that are totally telework or totally remote. But most of us, or a lot of us, have the opportunity to work telework a couple of days a week. I know there are headquarters jobs that are entirely remote, if that's what you're looking for. So that's another avenue. And someone would also asked about, are there jobs for retirees? There are lots of jobs for retirees.
Yes,
I'd say a big part of civilian is retirees. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I typed some answers in the chat to that, but yeah, as far as remote and telework, we do have that. Especially, we're trying to get more involved with that. But the core of our mission is customer service. So for the majority of our positions, that requires being present for the customer. So we're catching up with new technology. Some of our counselors can work remote. We can handle case management through a computer only so far, but we're dealing with sexual assault advocacy. We're dealing with suicide prevention, those sorts of things. We do need to have that personal contact. And then the majority of our positions are in childcare or providing that over-the-counter service to our military members. So of course, the majority of our positions are going to be face-to-face there with our customer, because our customer is the sailor and the Marine and the families that we serve. But a lot of our administrative and when possible, those jobs where we can connect over a video chat, or we can Skype or use a program such as that to keep kind of like providing some information remotely, then we're getting more into doing that. But we're customer service, you got to be where your customer is. I see a question, how long are deployments for civilian careers? It depends, again, on location of where you're going. More remote locations, a tour of duty, you might be signing, think of it as contract employment. You might be signing a contract for about from 1 year to 2 years. It also depends on whether or not you can take your family. Some of our newer sites like Poland or Romania are called unaccompanied tours. So you may not be able to take your family with you. Other places such as Italy or Bahrain, you might be able to take your family with you, and then your tour could be 2 years or 3 years. If they've got to pay to move you over there, they tend to let you stay a little longer. But yeah, it depends on the location and the cost of living there and the ability to support families. If they don't have the infrastructure to support housing or support families, then they don't allow families to go over there. Where do you find a list of professional opportunities? As Natalie mentioned, our website will take you to jobs that Navy Life PNW. I'll put that in the chat, but that takes us to jobs that are here in the Northwest. But to apply for those jobs, you have to go to usajobs.gov. And I will, Natalie, can you put that in the chat for me?
Okay.
usajobs.gov, as Natalie said, is where you would go to find any federal jobs for any of the branches of military service. You can find them for the U.S. Forest Service, for the national parks, for the Veterans Administration. And as she said, you'll find many financial jobs there. They tend to have an old classification system, so you really need to read the job to see what it involves. We use a lot of titles like analyst that cover everything. So, so that's a very broad brush, but you will find all kinds. It could be a policy analysis. It could be data analytics. It could be more statistical in nature. But you really need to look at those jobs to see. But all of our jobs, you can go into usajobs.gov. You can set up your resume and you can set up a search. I have a communications resume and I have a human resources resume. And I will tell USA Jobs to tell me when there is a job that matches my criteria. So it can be as helpful as you want it to be, or you can just bookmark the website and go in every now and then and say, I'd like to know what jobs are available currently in Spain. And you can look up those jobs. Now, I will caution you that you need to follow the instructions very clearly on USA Jobs to be sure you get consideration for the job. When it says what to attach, read the fine print, okay? And ask your local, if you have if you have a number or something that says if you need help, use help, because you don't want to get disqualified for something that you are highly qualified for, but you filled out the form wrong. So there is a little pain involved with USA Jobs, but they're making it better all the time. So look, saying, who is this job open to? Where is it located? And how do I apply? And those questions are all answered in there. Go to the references and look. Now, if you want to look for a job in the state of Washington, for example, with us, when you do a search for state of Washington, it will come up with a lot of jobs. A lot of the civil service jobs say anywhere. And again, you may have to read the fine print. That means we're looking for financial specialists everywhere in the US. Well, that means they have multiple openings, but you'll need to apply to see where do they actually have one in Washington or one near you. So a lot of the jobs will pop up. You have to look there. If they're anywhere USA, read the fine print and see if there actually is one available where you're looking. And then you'll be able to narrow your choice, just the ones that are available in the location you're looking. So these are great questions. So somebody says, I have my master's in organizational leadership. Maybe you were one of my students, Sabrina. Yes, to go overseas, especially, you need to have mid-level or senior level positions tend to be more the positions that go overseas. Although in childcare, that's a bulk of what we do. We have sent over child development leads, child development directors, training specialists, kind of mid-career level. But basically, if there's a need, we send somebody over. We have fitness assistants, fitness trainers that we've sent to some of our remote locations. So you don't have to be a manager. You don't have to be a senior level person. You have to have the skill set that's required. So many questions, I can't answer them all. Do they have counselor jobs not licensed? Yes, Tanya, we have counselor jobs. We have the clinical counseling side, and then we have what we call the non-clinical side. These are work and family life consultants. They help with the transition to civilian life. They help people financial planning. They're buying a new home. A lot of these new military families have no idea how to budget for that. We have new parent support personnel. How do I deal with the baby? We have prenatal care. How do I handle having a baby in the house? We have special programs for them. So our work and family life consultants help in a variety of things. How to raise a teenager. They provide career planning, resume and interview workshops, all kinds of things. So those do not require a license or a master's degree. They just require, again, experience and the skill set required to teach those courses.
And Glenn, I'm trying to answer as many as I can, as quickly as I can.
Yeah. And I see a couple of questions. Are we available for questions after today's sessions? Absolutely. I'll put my email in the chat. Oops. If I can get it in there. And I'm available to answer questions anytime through email, set up a longer phone call type thing.
And Gwen, if I'll put my email, I don't mind talking either.
Yes, yes. Yeah, all kinds of individual questions about your particular degrees and experience. And I would encourage you to go to our website or go to USA Jobs and just see the vast opportunities that are available for you. As Natalie continues to answer questions, I want to share again, I'm going to turn off Q&A here, some of the job openings we have right now. Share this one, as we have to get back to Werner here in a minute. So these are jobs that we currently have available. If you can see on your screen, so in social work and human services, we have counselors, we have victim advocates. These don't have to be degreed people. These are, we have sailors on the ships who are victim advocates for people suffering from abuse, either sexual harassment, maybe sexual abuse. We have family advocacy assistant. Family advocacy, those are people who are assisting the counselors. These currently do not require a license or a master's degree. They're a developmental position, more administrative in nature. We currently have those available at all of our locations in the Northwest. I highly recommend that for those of you who are entering into the social work field. We have deployed resiliency counselor. That's basically a counselor who works on the aircraft carrier, that works on the submarine to provide on-the-spot support for military members who may be having those issues with suicidal tendencies, feeling isolated. They help with that. We have child counselors who work specifically with our youth program. Whoops, sorry about that. And in our youth program, we have a current opening for a child care center director. We have child care centers that may have from 80 to 240 children in the child care center. And we have the teachers in the classroom, we have the trainers, we have the clerks who work in the front and check people in. And we have what we call a school liaison officer. This is somebody with an education background who is going to be the liaison between the local school district and the military families, to help them transition into the local school, to help the schools understand the tribulations and the challenges that military families face from moving from location to location. And they help sponsor events that bring the two together. So school liaison is excellent for somebody who's been a teacher, who has been involved in child development and wants to bridge that and become more of kind of a public affairs type position. In fitness and recreation, we're currently looking for several supervisory specialists in our community recreation programs. And in our aquatics, we're looking for an aquatics lead and an aquatics manager. These are Olympic-sized swimming pools. This is managing the lifeguards, managing the physical fitness standards for the Navy, because believe it or not, they have to learn how to swim, and we provide those programs too. We're looking for recreation assistants, which is an excellent foot in the door. Our CEO equivalent, the head of our program, started out as an intern in recreation, and he now is the head of one of these regions. Our previous operations manager started out as a bartender in our food industry and then moved her way up all the way to operations manager and is now retired. We're looking for cooks, bartenders. We have a housing, this on the non-appropriated side, we're looking for building managers, people to help with what we call our unaccompanied housing. It's like mini hotels. They help make sure that when that sailor gets off the boat, that they have a room is available for them. They get their key, they get their instructions of what's available to them as part of their Welcome Home program. And we have housing management assistants who work with our housing department to help people relocate to the area, be sure they know where the schools are, be sure that their house is ready for them, to help connect them to our property managers in case they have any problems with their home. So these are all jobs that we have available right now. And if you go to our website, we keep talking about Navy Life PNW. You can go to there. Some of you said, where can I get more information? This website represents 3 major bases we have in Pacific Northwest. You can go there and see the types of activities we have. You can go to the jobs page and see any of these jobs that we have available and how to apply. Ooh, that's a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. Great job, Gwen.
Ah,
Both of you. It was
yes,
amazing.
yes, thank you.
You'd always know the success of a information session when you see so many questions from everybody, and many of them are from around the world here as well. So many thanks to all of you, and Gwen and Natalie, for that amazing presentation that you had. You're just amazing, and just such a privilege to have you here today and to explain the important work that you do for all of our military families around the world. So people were asking about this in the chat. So here are the email addresses if you missed them there in the chat. A reminder again, everyone's going to be receiving a recording of this as well within about a week or so, a few days. So if you need to reference it again, you're welcome to do so. But again, we are so thrilled to have you here today. We learned so much. It was really great. So if you want to connect with Fleet and Family Readiness and other organizations that are actively recruiting for full-time positions and internships, please log in to Handshake through your student portal. We recommend checking Handshake and UAGC Connect regularly for more career services events, because we do hold these events almost every month here throughout the year. So in a few days, a reminder, you're going to receive a follow-up email with the link to this recording and information about Fleet and Family Readiness careers. If you have any questions for the Career Services team on your resume, cover letter, or job search, please email careerservices@uagc.edu or log in to Handshake through your student portal to explore more resources. Again, many thanks again to Gwen and Natalie from Fleet and Family Readiness for joining us today. And many thanks to you, our students and graduates, for attending UAGC. We wouldn't be here without you. Thank you for attending this event today, and we look forward to seeing you at our career services events later on this year. And everyone have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.